Hello and welcome back to this exciting interview with Nasser Mooman. Nasser is from Great American Insurance in Cincinnati, and this is segment two of our interview. In fact, if you have just picked up on this thread right now, you may want to go back and check out segment one. It's out there on CDO Magazine's website, so make sure you pick that up. And guess what? There's a segment three to follow as well. So, keep your eyes peeled for that one too. So in this segment, we are going to be focusing on currently life at Great American Insurance. And we're going to talk a little bit about the rich set of insurance data that is available and the opportunities that presents to use Gen AI. So Nasser, over to you. If you can just take us through a little bit in terms of the kinds of data that you have.
Absolutely. I think that's a good question, Derek. It's a very essential question, as we mentioned in the first segment regarding to the challenge early on in technology where data was a challenge to collect. Now, most of the industrial are tapping on the insurance domain, because as we know, insurance have very rich legacy data. Now, it depends what kind of insurance that domain we have. Some insurance are single-threaded, more like health insurance. Some insurance are more toward automobile insurance. And so every insurance, there are different structure, different domain. And the beauty about the Great American Insurance Group, and that's what really attracted me to join Great American Insurance Group, besides Cincinnati, one of the best nice places I ever visited and lived in,
Yes.
actually is I would say Great American Insurance Group, actually, they are really, truly data-centric organization. I will explain what that means in particular. The way the business has structure is think of it as based on 13 or 36 unique business units. So think of business unit as a company. So each company, we mentioned earlier, each insurance, sometimes health insurance, car insurance, property insurance. But the beauty about Great American, in the scope of data scientists and the scope of data and the way why we tapping, or many people tapping on insurance, is the Great American is structured their business for a long time in a way that has unique 36 business unit. And when we say unique, every single business unit, they are consist of source of legacy data type, data sources, data usage, data application, and more beauty about, I would say, different user application. So if you do, for example, crop or agriculture or horses or automobile or cargoes or property or casualty claim, each one of those particular business unit, it has its own unique data set and unique customers, and how we kind of really try to utilize AI to create model according to the data type, the data source, the data upgrade, and more importantly, how our customers, our insured customers, will utilize these AI models to enhance and optimize and accurately predict to potential. I'll give an example, for instance. So we have, for example, crop. This is mainly agriculture about rain, hail, growth, drought, wind, all these environmental that crop or farmers are directly impacted. So that's the data in this particular type. It's mainly satellite data, imaging data, drone imaging data. So that's kind of historical data as well. So we merge both different type of data. Another domain of data, for example, we do telematics, which is mainly IoT-driven technology, whereas for trucks and fleet and cars, and these are kind of IoT. So we're looking at IoT data, which is sometimes has imaging data, and you have imaging data from satellite, and that's where we say Great American Insurance, actually, they are the core of having data-centric. When I say that, data-centric, you could utilize it for your own, but it could be a data mart in the future where you could sell the data, or that could be as an enterprise. We are not literally, if I could say, just using the data and then creating data by natural way of work, like IoT, you collect data. But we utilize third-party partners' data to enhance our model. So we're not really we try to get a model that is not biased, but generalized in a way that utilize diverse kind of data to enhance our customer, our human life. Because if I could predict hail or flood or drought to a farmer, it's a win-win to everybody. If I could predict or could say, oh, a driver has a good history of being a driver, being on the road, on a truck, that's safety for the company, saving money, safety for the other drivers on the road, and then saving time and less cost. Every time you have an accident on the road, there's going to be high, the expenses has to go somewhere, and that's going to be the end consumer where they could, get hurt by the prices if a lot of accident and bad drivers and lawsuit and so on and so forth. So these are the diverse. That's why I'm calling Great American Insurance Group is the hub of data centric, because the data is so diverse, so rich, and it's that's why I'm lucky to be part of the data science team with Great American Insurance Group.
Yeah, wow, it sounds fascinating. That much diversity in the data, that much deep history, across so many different parts of the insurance industry. It's really good stuff. Now, I'm sure that in that, one of the challenges is to try and figure out which use cases are the ones we're going to go after, because literally everywhere you look, it must be like this, it's screaming for, use me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, and that's a challenge because we have to balance between ethic, PHI data, security, and at the same time is the ecosystem that we have. We have a legacy system as well, and we look at our customer and our agent. So not everyone in the same page. However, Get American Insurance Group have invested significantly in applying AI and utilizing the data that we have. And there are a set of use cases that, there's for my team in particular, or other team members within the Great American Insurance Group, I could pick few things that direct beneficial to the end consumer. And we say maybe there's a perception about consumer insurance are not really making money, but actually our job is to create model that enhance people's life and save people's life, and well actually is predicting what is going to be drought, it's going to be hail, it's going to be bad or a high yield in the crop for the farmer. It's going to be so. One of the use cases that we use is what we call is medical record information. So we have historical medical records that consist of nurses, doctor notes, has so many years, or for every particular patient, and in order to analyze and read and get the information, the knowledge out of this record, it will need a human being to read it, a specialized person to understand it, what the diagnostic, what the medication, what was the time, what are the notes. So you have to have a specialized person to understand in order to summarize and then speed up the process of insurance or medications, or identify some fraud. So I think one of the thing we could say actually is, if you have a medical records, we could extract information utilizing generative AI without needing for kind of human to extract some information. Second, we could summarize the doctors and the nurses' notes within the document. Could be 100, could be 200 pages, could be a couple of years, whatever the visitation of every particular patient. We could summarize that in one summary. So a doctor or insured, underwriter, or anybody could look at it. Oh, here's the summary. Here was your diagnostic. Here was your medication. Here's the doctor notes. So instead of waiting a couple of months and just to get the information, we could summarize that under your fingertips in no time. So and accurately without. So this is benefit for the end user, for the insured. Oh, what my diagnostic over a couple of years. Everything we have to be very careful that we develop AI model with the attention to have every single model a human in the loop to verify and to validate. Every model we have to have a human in the loop. So we're not relying on the AI autonomously, but rather AI is a tool to give you enough information to make a decision rather than making a decision. So that's one of the use cases. I mentioned about the crop and the weather data, which is satellite data, image data, that we could predict drought. And then the most important is we do predicting property loss. So, okay, instead of before you build a house, maybe your house build code has to be certain type. If you're in Florida or you're in a fire potential place in California, your building, your property, it has to fit within the insurance policy. So we say, okay, based on the historical data, the predictive way is your house, if you get to a flood or wind or whatever the natural disaster, that's going to be lost. So to prevent loss for the customers and insured early on, we could say, maybe you need to pay attention because you know what, if you have a hail or a couple of years hail, likelihood that's going to be the loss for the best. So we predict loss before even the constructor or the construction company or the insured buy a house, for example, or we speed the claim of the property damage as well. It's a benefit win-win to everybody. So that's by utilizing image data or AI in particular in this case to classify the property, loss or the hail or the flood or, the drought or good yield. So such information we think is very beneficial for the insured and for everybody.
Right. And as you do those types of projects and you start, trying to figure out how to deploy that, obviously one of the key things is trying to make sure that, are there going to be any barriers to adoption? Is it going to be socially accepted? And I'm sure, that Great American is really focused on those types of issues as well. What have you found as being kind of some of the big barriers to social acceptance, and how are you guys addressing that?
The challenge of social acceptance, I think, like any other technology, I think there's a perception that is there. I think whether we potentially wanted or not wanted, AI has been applied in many industrial. Social media is one thing. Data is being collected behind the scene. We'll do a search engine, but I think is the how would we utilize the data? So I give an example for Great American Insurance, we essentially put a real guard around the way how to use data. So as we know, generative AI are based on collecting data and then what we call reinforcement learning. You have to train the model, fine tune it based on data that you're collecting, which is any feedback that a user input, whether you like, dislike. For example, you and I would do grammar correction or paraphrasing something using generative AI. That information or question is going to be stored, and then that's what the AI model reinforcement learning, it learns from the end user behavior and feedback. And then, as we know, we cannot compromise our client, our customer data. So we don't allow such data to go outside of our security domain. Even when we partnership with, for example, Microsoft Azure, we made sure the data is not retrained, and we try to use model that within the house. And that's one thing, hopefully we give our customers and the audience that, yes, there's a generative AI, but we are very, very careful how we utilize data in addition to be, biased. So, I mean, some data is going to be ethically correct. What kind of bias? Gender bias, background bias, model bias, social bias, whether you are rich, poor, different ethnic background. So we have to make sure this information, the end user or our client or customer are aware that we pay attention to those minor, we call minor, but not minor, they're essential for us. When we have a model, it has to be ethically approved, it has to be bias free, and it has to be, so this kind of encouraging end user, not accept, but pay attention to the good use of AI application. So as I said earlier, AI could be used in any way. And then in our case, actually, is when we show the benefit of utilizing AI in a daily life that improve human life, I think eventually end user will accept the application of AI. I think the same way when we accepted the internet, the same way when we accepted the mobile, anything has both way of using it. But I think insurance company and major company, they should have a real guard around how to utilize the data and that scope of it. So this kind of hopefully give the user, we pay attention to social acceptance of the AI application. At the same time, we have our own accountability when we use an AI in any application. And as we said earlier, every single model we have has to have a human in the loop to validate, verify. So if I may give the audience a little bit technical, but not technical, there are three segments of AI that, maybe AI specialists know about. One, we call autonomous AI or autonomous agent. So everything autonomous, turn the lights on and off, that's autonomous. That has when we do that, should has no impact on a human. Doesn't matter what. So turn the lights on and off when it's dark on the highway, that's just no harm whatsoever. And the second piece is when we have what's called mixed initiative, in which some tasks are going to be split between a human and AI, which we call some of it, it's autonomous, like turn the lights on and off, but some other part of it has to be a human decision maker, for example. And the third category of AI, we call adjustable AI, meaning is we utilize exactly what we're doing at the Great American Insurance Group. We utilize AI, we utilize the data, we utilize the speed, performance, and acceptance, hopefully the people. All the model are only used as a baseline for the adjusters, for the underwriters, for the customers to make a decision. So we don't autonomously make a decision, but rather speed up, optimize, make the information accurate and for good speed. We'll give it to the adjuster to make a decision. So I think I laid down a few points. At least hopefully will make the insured or the audience in ease when we have a data or using AI, we are carefully adopting some rail guard around how to utilize and how to use it.
Yeah, that's very good. Very comprehensive description there. Thank you for that. I'm sure the audience will appreciate it. I think we've set up very nicely for segment three of the interview. So to our audience, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the future. Where is all of this going? So for now, we're signing out, but watch out for segment 3. It's coming up soon.